Hello everyone, I'm Jesus and welcome to the next episode of the Road to Old School MTG. In this video I have my very first mail opening of 2025. Just one card, but it is a significant card. Nothing super expensive, a bit over 100, but it is an important card and the last missing piece to this particular deck. So this is my Stasis deck, X points, and actually just recently, a couple days ago, the X points listing has been changed, where the different things that get pointed have changed. Only 3 cards were affected, if I remember correctly. So I created this deck before that change, but just luckily enough, nothing was affected from this particular deck list. So I'm going to explain the deck, and then I'm going to explain the card that I needed, which is here. And one of these cards here is actually a proxy. It's not the card that you see, is not the card that I actually want, but I was just using it to play test while I was checking to see if I wanted to purchase this particular card, because it's $100. And I don't want to spend $100 for something that I don't, in the end, I end up not using, right? So I bought before a couple things that I got a one-time use out of and then never touched again, right? So, or like hardly touch, right? So I just wanted to see if it was worth it, but I think it is. So first, let me explain this Stasis deck. So remember, this is for X points. All my points are on the 5 moxes, right? So I have all 5 moxes. Each mox is worth 2 points. For the X points format, you get 10 points total, and different cards may have some points attributed to it. Right? Basically, some of the most powerful cards will have points attributed to it, and you have a maximum of 10 that you can use in one deck, including your main and your sideboard, right, in the full deck. And then for this particular deck, I use all my points on the 5 moxes, because I really need that boost. Even though this deck is mono blue, I still get a lot of boost from the colors that it provides, because I do have quite a few artifacts, right? So I have, of course, the 5 moxes, but I also have 4 Black Vice and 4 Howling Mines, right? So the Howling Mines is the engine of the deck. So I think this is called a turbo Stasis deck, right? Because Howling Mine will cause me to draw more cards, and then that I'm more likely to draw another island, which I can then play and then tap for the following turn's upkeep, so that I continuously can pay the upkeep of the Stasis, keeping it alive, while the opponent will eventually have a flooded hand, right? Because I keep on playing Howling Mines, but I also keep on playing, I have 4 copy artifacts here, and then these are very versatile. Initially I had 1 or 2, but then I just saw how busted it is, and I'm like, no, I gotta have all 4. So then I can use that to give me additional, right? Because all I need is just 1, especially that Howling Mine is so important. Then just by having 1, then if I get 2 copy artifacts after that, I actually have 3 Howling Mines, right? Because those copy artifacts will become Howling Mines, right? Or maybe I have enough Howling Mines, but they're still not getting damage from 1 measly Black Vice. So then now I can instead use the copy artifacts to become more Black Vices, right? And then winning the game that way. So that's the idea of this deck. And then originally it was going to be blue-white with 4 swords and 2 Kismets, right? So I really wanted to do a Kismet, Stasis Kismet, because that's a hard lock in old school. You cannot, your opponent cannot win. But of course, you gotta still keep paying the upkeep, right? But if you have a few Howling Mines out, you should be able to play to keep paying the upkeep, right? Pretty safely. And then the opponent, anything that he plays, any new lands, will come into play tapped. So, and then there's no cards in old school that you can play for free, basically. Even like Black Lotus, you gotta tap it first, right? But if it comes into play tapped, that means you can't even use it, because it was never untapped to begin with, right? So same thing with the moxes. Yeah, they're free, But if they come into play tapped and they never untap, that means you can never get any use out of it. So then your hand becomes flooded easier, and you cannot. That's a hard lock. You win. And who knows? I may still go back to that, because I really do want this to be a traditional Turbo Stasis deck. But I've decided to swap out. I only had 6 white cards, the 4 swords and the 2 kismets. So instead I've added 4 unsummon and 2 mana swords. So the unsummons will be similar to the swords in that, right, it'll remove the creature. Of course, it just returns it back to the opponent's hand. But in my particular case, that's almost like a time walk, because they will have to then recast it the next turn, right? So then, and remember, I want their hands to become flooded, so that way the Black Vices can hit them for more, right? So, plus me giving them life from swords is counterintuitive, right? Well, it's always counterintuitive, right? But if you're winning through damage, but still swords is still the benefits you get out of it is outweigh that that positive of life gain that the opponents get. But just to maximize the Black Vice damage potential, and to, like I said, to kind of act like a mini time walk, I figured. Plus, of course, I don't have to use. I had 4 Tundras, but I also have 4 City of Brasses, so I don't have to ping myself in addition, right, by being mono blue. So, well, like I said, this is a new addition. I had, instead of 4 unsummons, I had 4 swords. We'll see, but I like the idea. So for 4 spikes, I had before Mana Leak, I think it's called, Mana Drain, Power Leak. Actually, let me see if I can find it really quick. But it's the card that, actually, let me have it here. It's the card that you can counter spell for blue and X, and the X is whatever there we go. Power Sync, right? So then just X and blue, counter target spell unless opponent pays X. If he does not, he still has to, or they do not, still have to tap all their mana producing lands and empty out their mana, right? So then, of course, that works great with Stasis, because I can use, whenever they cast something, I can use that to tap them out, right? And then kind of lock them out that way. So, and like I said, this is still experimental. But I do like the 4 spikes, only because initially in the early game, then it's very easy to get a 4 spike out on a Savannah line or on a dip, right? And then anything that escapes that initial first turns, then I can still unsummon, right? Or even Boomerang, right? So Boomerang is the same idea as unsummon, but it's definitely it works as a combo also with Stasis, because I can Boomerang at the end of opponent's turn. So that way I get my untap step, because Stasis is no longer in play. So I still get to untap while my opponent was still tapped out, or their stuff is still tapped. And then I get my full untap plus my draws of whatever I'm going to draw. So it's a good reset. But of course I can still Boomerang their own creatures like unsummon, or Boomerang their lands. And then that of course makes them flood quicker, and then the Black Vice. Right, and then the mana shorts, like I said, I took out 2 Kismets out. So I figured the mana shorts are pretty similar idea in terms of, like it locks out the opponent with just 1 card, or at least it locks them out quicker, right? And then of course they can still play new lands, right? With that Kismet out, with no Kismet, then their lands still come into play on tap, so they can still potentially cast things, right? But you can only play 1 land at a time, right? So it still takes a while, and a disenchant you need 2 mana, right? So unless you also happen to have a Mox out, you're not going to cast that disenchant in 1 turn. It'll take you 2 turns, and then if you cast it at night, 4 spike it, you need another 2 turns to cast another one, right? So so I'm playing with mana shorts here, but I may still swap this out and maybe put the 2 power sinks out instead, right? Because it serves a similar purpose. But I wanted to try out the mana shorts here. So, and then of course you have your Chaos Orb here. So what card does not fit here? Of course this one. This is Altered Felwar Stone that I won in a raffle from a tournament. And why am I using this as a proxy? 2 mana casting artifact. It's because this is a proxy for a Time Vault, which is what I have here. I've had some talks with a player that actually won a tournament using Stasis, right? So I've been wanting to make a Stasis deck for the longest, but in Atlantic it's just not viable. But this person showed me that they did well in X points with it. So now this is me having a crack at it. Although his version had, I think, 2 or 3 Time Vaults, right? And had Twiddle as well, if I'm not mistaken, right? So basically it's a hybrid Stasis, Time Vault, TwiddleVault deck. And even in normal TwiddleVault decks, I do see Stasis there as a support card, right? Similar to Winter Orb. But I don't want to do that because I want to build a more traditional Stasis deck, right? So 1 Time Vault is fine because then you can't say this is a Time Vault deck that has Stasis as a support piece. No, this is a Stasis deck. It has 4 Stasis. I only got 1 Time Vault. If I don't get the Time Vault, it's not a crucial part. It definitely helps a lot, which is why I have 1. But I just, basically, I just want, I don't want it to be a TwiddleVault deck. I want it to be a Stasis deck, and I don't want for it to be confused by that. Maybe I'm doing it wrong by doing that. Like I'm just making my deck worse by not, including elements of TwiddleVault in it. In fact, I'm sure I am. But this is just me being stubborn and just me making what I wanted to make, right? And if it's good or bad, at least it's what I wanted to build. And I just want a good old-fashioned Stasis deck. So this is what I have here. So now, after giving all that setup, I'm gonna open this up, and then I'm gonna actually swap this out for a real Time Vault. So this is CE. So actually, let me show the listing. And unfortunately, so this was stuffed into my mailbox, and then I got like a cardboard item. I forget what it was. And unfortunately, they stuffed it in the mailbox, and then this was like crushed like this inside. So it's definitely bent down here in the padding area, right? So I do feel it here, although I don't feel like, but we'll see, right? Well, so plus I believe I bought this damaged, right? So it was already supposed to be not in the best condition. And yeah, so I'm starting off with bad luck here. Alright, so let's look at the listing. So here, CE Collector's Edition Time Vault, damaged. So this is, I'm playing the damage lottery, meaning when a card is listed as damaged in TCG player, normally, not all the time, but normally there's no picture. So that's why it's called the lottery, because you may get absolute crap, and basically, honestly, damage is damage, right? So even if you get absolute crap, you got what you paid for, right? So I cannot be disappointed, basically, or at least it'd be very, very hard to be disappointed. But I could be pleasantly surprised, and a lot of people have been pleasantly surprised by these openings. They'll get something that's damaged, and then when they open it up, to them they would consider maybe it's MP, moderately played, right? Or maybe it's damaged because it has a crease on it, but otherwise the card is pretty much fine. So it's basically I don't know what I'm getting, right? So it's a surprise, basically. But if it's a beat to crap, then I can't be mad. So damage Time Vault is $109 with shipping and whatnot, came out to $116. So almost 120 for a damaged time vault. And then it was further damaged when it was stuffed in the mailbox, but hopefully it's still okay. Let's see. And hopefully that didn't cause any further damage. Alright, so now this is me playing the damaged lottery. Okay, so it came in this. Just from looking at the back, this thing looks solid. Okay, so good protection. It didn't, just from looking at the back, it seems fine. Sorry for not the best image here. First of all, it's still wrapped in the plastic and everything, but I'm using a webcam. Tends to not have the best image sometimes. The back looks fine, right? So I'll play around with where I place it. Okay, so I'm still keeping it backwards until the big reveal. So it came well protected. Seems like that stuffing into the mailbox did not cause any issues. Okay, this thing looks near mint. What the hell? But also looks very, very good, which is very suspicious. Okay. Ho ho! That's why it's damaged. Holy shit. For those who don't know, if a card is signed, it's considered damaged, even if the card is near mint. It is automatically listed as damaged. Holy shit. So honestly, I see slight little wear at the edges on this side. I couldn't see it on the other side. I guess I see a little bit better now. And like I said, sorry for not the best, but trust me, this thing is freaking awesome. Wow. This is light played at worst. Plus it has a freaking Martellin signature. Holy crap. Like we live in a world where this, to many people's eye, this lowers the value. Like, whoa, holy crap. I played the lottery and I won. Wow. So, whew, there we go. Holy crap. Nice. Alright, so just to give it up to the seller, Kingslayer Games. I definitely won the damaged lottery there. And wow, honestly, I did not expect. I would have been happy with like MP. I would have been overjoyed with MP. This is light played. So maybe, maybe MP, at least the front. The back looked pretty solid, like I said. Right now I'm in my room is dark and I have a lamp on, so that just makes the image of the camera better. But it doesn't catch everything, right? So it's honestly, it's a lot better than it seems right here. To me, yes, this seems like light played. The back seems almost near mint. And then of course, the signature. Holy crap, this is awesome. Wow. There we go. That finishes off the deck. Like I said, I'm still going to be playing around with certain elements. I may still end up returning white to this. I may swap the mana shorts out for 2 power sinks. That may be the better option. We'll see. I like the idea of mana shorts though, but I think power sinks is slightly more versatile. Right? It can do the same job as this, but it can also counter something. Right? This, you can kind of get. This also can be counted as a poor man's time vault, right? A mana shorts, because you can tap. So it just taps all. It's an instant taps all their lands and empties out their mana pool as an instant, right? So you do it during their upkeep. Of course, it doesn't affect any mana rocks and stuff like that. Not even PowerSync does that either. But you know, like most often than not, that's where you get most of your mana from lands. So if you do it during the upkeep, then unless they got an instant or something, that's all they can do, which is probably, you know, they will probably wanted to do a lot more than just that, if even that. So then basically they wasted that one turn, right? So it's kind of like a poor man's time walk, especially considering this is X points and I can't put time walks because time walks are 2 points. That bring me up to 12. I was considering that actually, taking one of these out and putting in something else instead. But no, it's confirmed. The boost that you get from a Mox, any Mox, is just so strong in this particular deck from the so many artifacts that I have. Of course, everything else is blue, but I need a colorless for the Stasis. I need a colorless for the Mana Swords. I need a colorless for the copy artifacts, and then of course colorless for all these things, right? So you would think, well, you know, I'm just gonna get the value mainly only from the Mox Sapphire, right? The one that produces blue because it's mono blue, but no. And I thought that as well, but once I place tested this, just doing mock games against myself, I definitely see the value. And yeah, it's imperative to have all 5 Moxes. They all produce such a huge bump because this deck is slow and I need to survive and speed things up. And the faster I can speed it up, the more likely I'm going to win. And then of course, then it makes me not need to make this into half Stasis, half TwiddleVault deck, right? I want it to just be Stasis with a short Time Vault element, right? But I have no Twiddles in here. I was considering them though, right? Only because they're similar to Unsummon, right? Where I can tap a creature out, and then they get, like they lost the turn with that creature, right? Or I could also tap a land, it's pretty versatile, honestly, right? And in addition, of course, I can use it for that. So, I might still, basically, as long as I just have a little element of Time Vault there, but it's just something in addition, then that's still okay, right? That's still okay in my book. But once I'm adding 2 or 3 Time Vaults and I'm adding 3, 4 TwiddleVaults, forget it. It's not a Stasis deck anymore. At least not in my book. It can be a quasi Stasis deck, maybe. Twiddle Stasis, maybe. But I want a Stasis deck. God damn it. And this is my Stasis deck. So we'll see how it goes. Definitely, I'll be playing around with it. But I like this initial setup, and of course with this bad boy here, I couldn't be happier. Wow. Thank you guys for watching and for experiencing that along with me.